Hi, everybody. I am back with some information. Um, I've been taking a while trying to figure out what information, what videos I wanted to record for this channel. Just recently, somebody posed a question um, where, it kind of left me thinking about, the things that I do and how I go about working on myself on this spiritual journey, you know, trying to figure myself out, trying to figure out why I'm here, what I'm supposed to be doing. So, conversations happen and I share the fact that I use tarot and astrology, among other tools to kind of embark on my own little self-discovery journey. And one of the things that I do is dream interpretation. Now, I realize that I do a lot of work when it comes to dream interpretations. I'm actually the resident dream interpreter in my house. And when, friends have dreams, they come to me and I kind of like help them get through it. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm the guru when it comes to dream interpretation, but I've noticed that it is something that I'm able to help others the same way I am able to help myself when, I have dreams and they help me find out what it is that is lying in my subconscious. You know, on a mundane level, we go through life and sometimes we know certain things and we lie to ourselves, or we dismiss things. And we get these messages in our dreams and we act like we're confused. And so, I mean, honestly, most times we are, but in all honesty, our dreams when they happen and we actually remember them, they are trying to tell us something that we're ignoring, something that maybe we are ignorant to, something that we need to know and acknowledge so that we can make changes or prepare ourselves for what is coming, right? So I decided that I wanted to start creating a playlist of videos, being as this channel is me sharing my journey with you guys. um I've been pretty active as of late. March has been insane. Um and there's a lot of dreams that I actually have to interpret. I've written them down, but I haven't delved deeply into their interpretations. I kind of have an overview in my mind as to what it is that they're trying to tell me. Um And I figured that if I take my dreams and I share them with you guys and I interpret them with you, that it'll give you a glimpse as to how I use dream interpretation to help me on my spiritual journey and my own self-development. So, why am I doing this, right? So, yes, I use dreams for self-discovery. I use dreams for my own personal development. I use dreams to face very hard truths, you know? Um, Dreams are, they come from your subconscious, right? And there's so much that we suppress in our subconscious. But more importantly, there are also messages from the ancestors. They are messages from our higher self. They are messages from the angels. So, some people will have a dream and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I should be on alert. Something is off. Your intuition kicks up a notch, right? And here's the kicker, right? When dreams happen, they happen in symbols. Every now and then, some of us get blessed with a straightforward dream where it's just like, no, this. And you're like, okay. But for the most part, you have a lot of symbolism in the dreams. And that's where it becomes like, oh, I don't know what this means. That makes no sense. Well, you have to take the time to reflect on the symbols that stand out, how you feel about them. There's a lot of psychology involved when it comes to dream interpretation. Now, granted, I'm not Carl Jung, you know what I'm saying? I don't have a doctorate or anything in psychology, although I've always been told I'm psychologically inclined or whatever's. Um, but when I can't, a lot of the times I'm able to tap into my intuition. I'm able to reflect on how I felt about the dream. I'm able to reflect on how I feel about the symbols. When I cannot figure out the symbols in a dream, I usually recur to like my favorite book, which I have right here. So, one of my favorite books, actually, this is the only book that I have for dream interpretation, and it's when I need to dig deeper. You can see it's got some wear and tear. I've had this book for over 2 decades. Okay. So this book is from Teresa Chung, and it is called The Element Encyclopedia of 20,000 Dreams. I've had this book, the latest, I would say it was 2005, but I started buying my books around 2000. So anywhere between 2000 2005, I've had this book. Okay. And as you can see, like, I'll have like, she's got some wear and tear. She's got some mileage on her. Um, it is one of my favorite books. I use it along with some astrology books that I've had since 2000, including The Secret Language of Birthdays, Secret Language of Relationships, and Secret Language of Names. These are my go-to books, and they've worked wonderfully for me for years. Okay. So usually when I write my dreams down, I'll kind of highlight, things that stood out, things that are like really like popping out and kind of left an impression on me. And those are the things that I'll try to find in this book. Okay. And if you watch my previous video, my first video, Losing Sienna, I actually get into how I had a very intense dream, and this all happened right before I lost Sienna. Okay. Um, Dreams, some of them can be very relaxed, right? We dream all the time. And for the most part, some of these dreams kind of stay in our subconscious. And we don't remember them, right? But when you have a dream that really makes an impact on you and you're sitting there like writing down all these details, assuming you write them down, but the bottom line is you remember all these details, there is something that you need to pay attention to. Okay. Now, in that video for Losing Sienna, I realized that I had a phobia that I never acknowledged. And I'd had it for a pretty long time. And for decades, I told people that I don't have a phobia. As long as I'm kind of like safeguarded, I'm good. You know what I mean? For example, there are people who are afraid of water. I'm not afraid of water. But, as long as I have my safety vest, I'm good to go. However, if you put me in the middle of the ocean without a safety vest, There's obviously going to be a problem, right? Because I can't swim, you know? Um, I'm not afraid of small spaces, right? I mean, I was a millwright. I had no choice but to like squeeze myself into small spaces. But if you put me in a box underground, I'd probably have a problem with that, right? I'm not afraid of heights. If anything, I love being perched. I love balconies. I love being able to look over everything. Somebody who's afraid of heights can't even get near a window. You know what I'm saying? And as a millwright, I had to climb up, you know, pretty tall heights. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you were to put me in those heights without my harness or any type of personal protection or fall protection, have a pretty big problem with that. You know what I'm saying? Because I have no way of getting out of it. However, when this dream happened, and this was in 2022, it really kind of impacted me. And there were so many things like I couldn't understand. So all I could do was write it down. All I could do was write down the details and just kind of break it down symbol by symbol, and kind of see it from different views, looking up different details that affected that particular symbol. Okay. And eventually, phobias came up and the foresight of possible laws came up, you know. It blows my mind how by the time I had this dream figured out, I'm having a conversation with my dog and I'm telling her, oh my God, baby puppy, like, I gotta start getting out more often because now I just found out that my phobia is agoraphobia. Okay. So, I'm over here having a conversation with my dog and then I'm telling her, I got agoraphobia. So now I gotta put forth some effort because part of my phobia, okay, is not being able to get myself out of situation, okay, and having limitations. So I counter that by trying to go against the fear, right? So if I were to be afraid of heights, I'd be that person to force myself into high up situations, okay? I can't swim, but I dream of jumping off of, cliffs into the lake, or the river or those really nice scenes that they put in movies, you know what I'm saying? Like I would love to do that. You know what I'm saying? Um I'd be afraid of being at tall heights, you know what I'm saying, without fall protection, and yet I would love the opportunity to get in a plane and jump off and go parachuting. Like I love those things, even though I'm taking risks. Okay. I'm willing to take the risk to change it. So when I'm finding out that I have agoraphobia, which probably stems from not, from childhood trauma, having little control over my situation, having, feeling powerless, you know, um, there's something else, and obviously resulting in control issues, right? Well, my way of countering that is by doing doing the opposite, right? So if I have agoraphobia, and agoraphobia is the reason I have road rage because I can't control the people driving around me, right? So I rush to get from point A to point B because I want to limit my interaction on the road with these people that don't know how to drive. And yes, I will boldly say that, like, motherfuckers don't know how to drive. I can drive. I'm a smooth driver. I rage sometimes because people don't know how to drive. So, you know, where was I taking that? The point is that despite the fact that I limit my interactions with people because I can't control external factors, the fact that I limit leaving my house too much, you know what I'm saying? Like, curbside pickup is like the best friend that I never had. Like, I will order and just roll up, pick up my stuff, and be out because I can't walk into Walmart for very long. I don't know how some of y'all do it. Y'all probably think that shit is fun. I walk into Walmart, I walk out with a freaking migraine. So, these are all things that stem from that agoraphobia. So, when I had this dream and I'm realizing what my issue is, understanding, what my issue is at this point, now I want to counter that, right? So, now I want to do something that will help me improve on that. Okay. I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, I have this phobia and then use it as my crutch, use it as an excuse for stuff. No, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to build and improve on that. Okay. So as I'm having this, after I reach this conclusion and I realize what's happening, I'm having this conversation with my dog, and I'm like, yo, baby puppy, like, I'm gonna have to get out the house more often. You know what I'm saying? I know it's gonna be tough, but I'm gonna have to look for reasons, look for excuses to, get exposed. You know what I'm saying? And learn whatever lessons come with that. And then when I got to the topic of loss, I was like, look, I mean, maybe it's somebody in the family, but not you, because I knew that I wasn't ready to lose my dog. But even still, that possibility sat in the back of my head. Okay. But in my mind, my baby puppy was 11 years old and her mom passed away. She was still alive at the time. She passed away about 2 months after Sienna passed away. And she was like 16 or 17 years old. Okay. So I just thought I had more time with my dog. You know what I'm saying? So when this happens on Sunday and then Monday comes around, I lose my dog, you know, it was tough. But the dream told me that there were going to be changes and it was going to be tough. But it also told me you need to accept it. You need to deal with it. Okay? And that is part of, taking the time to interpret your dreams to understand what's going on in your subconscious and at the same time prepare you for what is to come. Okay, many times we get caught up in our world, in the mundane. We get caught up in these old beliefs. And as a matter of fact, I already know there's something probably coming up. I just had a dream last night that kind of left me like, oh, okay, I'm going to be going through something. I'm not going to like it, but I've been going through this disappointments for so long. It's almost like, bring it. So it's not to say that I'm gonna be laughing through it, but you have to understand that just when you think you got it figured out, you don't. And that's just the bottom line. And part of the spiritual journey is to continue working on yourselves and keep working through beliefs that no longer serve you. They may have worked for you at some point, but eventually they wear out. You know what I'm saying? They have an expiration date. And when change happens, you have to change your perspective. You have to change the way you do things. You gotta, crumble everything and rebuild right back up. You know what I'm saying? And that's another reason why I use tarot, right? So between my dream interpretations and I actually deal my own tarot, it helps me kind of like put, two and two together and work through some stuff. Now, every now and then when I'm just like when I feel like I got too much going on in my head, I'll listen to I have like literally like two tarot readers that I be listening to at this point because the tarot reading on YouTube has gotten ridiculous. I'm gonna just put it out there. Um right now I do listen to one tarot reader. I listen to Ria. and I'm pretty sure some of y'all will actually come across her. Ria, she has the Sacred Knowledge Tarot channel. And I resonate a lot with her readings. I like the way she reads because she is also kind of using this tarot, you know, to help us kind of address issues within ourselves personally. It's not to say that she won't channel, because obviously while she's reading the tarot, she'll sit there and she'll get her own messages and she'll put them out there. You know what I mean? But the purpose is for us to work, you know, with ourselves and improve on ourselves. Okay. Now, I've always been a dreamer. I've been dreaming since forever. And by dreaming, I'm talking about like to actually acknowledge that my dreams are actually telling me something, and that I became conscious of that probably middle school. You know what I'm saying? Um my intuition has always been like, I've always been aware of presences. Like, I'm not that person that'd be like, yo, I saw this guy, or I saw this specter, or I saw whatever's. I've always been the one to feel things. Like, I can feel when somebody's near me. You know what I'm saying? Or something. It's better the way, right? Something is near me. I can tell when something is watching me, even though I'm alone in the room. Like, I'm like, something's in here, you know? And I've been like that since I was a child. Like, not to get too gross, but I was that little kid that wet her bed up until she was 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? Because I could feel things go bump in the night. Um, But unfortunately, I also come from a family where they are dismissive about everything, and they just choose not to be connected with, the ethereal. You know what I'm saying? So they just succumb to, fanatical religious practices, and that seems to be what works for them. But unfortunately, for a child like I was, being able to sense so many things and then have them like, oh, you're just thinking things, you're just seeing, you this, you're that, you're just being a kid, just dismissing all those things. Eventually, you kind of start, or at least you try your best, right, to suppress these things. And for a time, it works. It works for a time, you know. Um, but this would progress throughout the years, right? And then I would notice that it would only get, bigger and bigger, into my adolescence, into my young adult life. Um, I would be able to call out certain things. I always knew when, and here's the kicker, right? With me in particular, right? Um, I've recently made peace with the fact, or at least I guess it's a fact because that's the word that came out my mouth, right? I was about to correct myself and say the possibility, but if it came out with the fact, then I guess it is what it is. Um, that I may be what some people would consider an underworld queen. Okay, like somebody who may be connected to Hecate, or somebody who may be connected to Persephone, or some type of underworld archetype, because I've everything when my intuition is most heightened, it is usually in relation to something that calls for deep transformation. And aside from the metaphorical death, I tend to know when actual death, is upon us. Even if I can't sit there and like, I don't make it my purpose to try to find out when people are dying. Like, that's not how this works, right? But if you're close to me, if I have a connection with you and you're about to lose a loved one, I tend to get that message. Okay. And for a long time, I kind of resented um, being able to interpret only those dreams. Like, those were the dreams that I knew, those were the dreams that I was familiar with. And every time they happened, it was like I was communicating death, right? So I didn't want to be associated with like a death angel, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be associated with that. Um, and I guess to some extent, I kind of was like, all right, I don't want to. You try to like, no, I don't want to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? You kind of like block it off. You know what I mean? But that's because younger me had not understood, right? Which brings me back to that video that, the previous video where I was talking about spiritual bypass and we all go through it. You know what I mean? Being somebody that is able to sense darkness and that's kind of like my superpower, right? I guess. You know, it's like I didn't want to be associated with that. I wanted to be associated with positivity because other than that, like I was lonely. I've always been a very lonely person because people wouldn't naturally gravitate towards me. And let's be real, people always gravitate to the fun folk, they're a good time. They got jokes. They are clowns. They are fun. They are whatever, right? Everybody's always trying to be an energy vampire, basically, with the people that are like, a ball of light, and I wanted to be that ball of light. But that's because, and it's not that I couldn't be, it's just that I needed to figure out how to embrace my darkness. But younger me didn't know how to do that because I was spiritually bypassing. Okay. I was thinking it's all about positivity, it's all about being love and light. And at doing that, I ended up resenting a gift. You know what I'm saying? Of being able to interpret, usually much darker dreams. Now, you fast forward to where I am right now. I've put in a lot of work, okay? Primarily, probably more work than I really needed to. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that because I had a difficult time embracing my gift, I succumbed to insecurities and I succumbed to people's judgments. And my mental health took a very big toll. So I remember telling myself, I don't want to feel anymore because I always felt everything deeply, right? I'm an empath. And eventually, giving into that statement, I wound up, you know, going to psychotherapists, going to psychiatrists, and getting on psychiatric meds. And I was on those psychiatric meds for 3.5 years. And those meds, by the time I came off of them, even though they were unintentional, I came off of those meds because spirit had it that way. Like spirit said no more meds. Because me personally, Karen, I mentally, I wasn't trying to get off of the meds. You know what I'm saying? Even though I was kind of like, picking up, like I would have the nudges, like, I don't know if this is the way. You know what I'm saying? I was having my second thoughts about if I should continue the meds. But I personally wasn't like planning, like, on this day I'm gonna stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. I just one day I started missing dosages and I was like, oh, I got to make up for that dose. But I never made up for the dose. And it would eventually taper off. you know? But even after it tapered off, I was not dreaming the same. Okay. And this spiritual journey began in 2015. And I made mention of that in my previous video. And the thing with that is that in dealing and coping with the lows of the journey, I became codependent on weed. Okay. Not to be mistaken with addiction, because I hate it when people say, oh, people are addicted to weed. People are not addicted to weed. Okay. People don't get the shakes because they're not smoking weed. Okay. They just become intolerant. Okay. Um, but I did use weed as a coping mechanism whenever, since I was working construction and I needed to, smoke indica heavy. You know what I'm saying? To help me with my body aches. And I also needed it to help me be able to fall asleep at night so that I'd be able to wake up at 5:30 in the morning instead of tossing and turning for 2 to 3 hours because my thoughts are racing. Um, and then obviously the occasional, stress or family issue that would, require me to kind of like slow my mind down and just like not put much thought into other people's drama. You know what I mean? So even though I had come off the psychiatric meds, which had already done a number on me, I still had to work through my codependency with weed, which started to taper off around 2021. Um, and even that was a process, right? Because I can actually say I haven't smoked weed since last year, since October of last year, you know? Um, and it's taken me that long to get back into being able to really connect with myself, okay? And being able to dream again. Now, everything happens for a reason. And the transits have been on fire. Literally. And I mean, I don't know if it's because of the transits entering Aries, and Aries being a fire sign, but let me tell you, Venus and Neptune have been doing a number. Venus and Neptune have been very active doing their wreaking havoc, you know what I'm saying? And I would have to say that for me, it started around the 222 portal, February 22nd. I had a big dream around that time. And then, you know, a few days would pass. And then by the time that March came in, it's been nonstop. Nonstop. Okay. So, with that being said, you know, I have a lot of work to do. I have quite a few dreams that I need to like really dig into because I do have like a superficial or like an overview understanding of what is going on or what is supposed to happen. Um, but as I delve deeper into those dreams, I want to be able to share that with you guys here on YouTube so that you see how I use dream interpretation, how I do it for myself. And maybe, maybe you guys do dream interpretations yourself. Maybe you have tips that you can share, um, certain ways to interpret, to kind of how you use dreams to help you improve um to do, I guess, to achieve personal development and have, engage with self-discovery. Like how do you use dreams for that matter? um I know for a fact that my ancestors have been, pretty active with me. Um, the angels have definitely been very active with me. Angels are reaching out to you because the numbers are very prominent in a dream. I had one of those. It's one of the ones that kind of kickstarted this little rendezvous thing that we got going on. You know what I mean? And they I'm like, okay, the angels are really out here trying to tell me something. So I really gotta get into that. And if anything, that video for that dream, um, I'm gonna probably be getting into a little bit more because even though I am so like in tune with the dream, like I understand the dream and what it's trying to tell me, I still end up falling into self-doubt every now and then. So that video is going to help me break, I'll be breaking down that dream, but at the same time I will be sharing how, despite my intuition screaming at me, I too have my moments where I second guess what it is that I should definitely, be very aware of. So I look forward to probably creating like a playlist of these dream interpretations. And I hope to like engage with you guys. I hope that you guys are able to get something out of these videos. And you know, let's teach each other, right? I'm gonna share um how it works for me, and hopefully, you guys have other ways that it works for you. And I look forward to learning from you guys, right? That's why I'm here. I'm choosing to share with you guys so that we can all kind of share together and help each other out on this journey, that we call life. This spiritual journey, this collective journey, and I really look forward to engaging with everyone. Thank you for listening.